Trust is like glass. Once shattered, you see everything differently through those cracks. When Jessica suddenly told me she needed space after 3 years together, something felt off. I simply nodded and said, "All right." The next morning, my phone buzzed with a message from my buddy showing vacation photos of her with another man. As I discovered his identity and that he was married, I made one decisive click that changed everything. Before I continue this story, drop a comment telling me where you are watching from, and hit that subscribe button if you want more stories about standing up for yourself. Our story began at my college roommate's wedding. I was serving as the best man, stressed about my speech, when I literally bumped into Jessica at the bar. She spilled her champagne on my rented tux, and instead of being upset, we both laughed. Her smile lit up the entire venue, and we spent the rest of the reception talking as if we had known each other for years. What started as exchanging numbers turned into weekend trips to the Coast family holiday gatherings, and building what I believed was a genuine connection. Jessica was ambitious, working as a marketing specialist at a growing tech firm, while I had just been promoted to senior architect at my design company. We balanced each other perfectly. I appreciated her drive, and she loved my creativity. After 18 months of dating, moving in together seemed like the natural next step. We found a spacious 2-bedroom apartment with a view of the city skyline. Unpacking our combined lives, mixing furniture, and deciding which coffee mugs to keep became adventures in compromise. I remember thinking how smoothly everything went, how perfectly our lives meshed together. We even opened a joint savings account specifically for our future home. Every month, we each deposited 15% of our paychecks, watching the balance grow toward our down payment goal. For her 31st birthday, I surprised her with a weekend getaway to wine country, and at Christmas, she gave me an expensive watch I had admired, but would never have bought for myself. When Jessica decided to switch departments at work, moving from marketing to product development, I supported her through the transition. Late nights studying new skills, practice interviews in our living room, and celebrating her successes became our routine. Similarly, when her father had a health scare last year, I drove her 6 hours to her hometown and stayed with her family for 2 weeks. I truly believed we were building something unbreakable. As our 3rd anniversary approached, I had been secretly planning to propose during our trip to Hawaii. I had already spoken with her. Mother picked out a ring that reminded me of her eyes and worked with the resort to arrange the perfect sunset proposal. Little did I know that paradise would never happen for us. Looking back, I should have recognized the signs. They started subtly about 4 months before everything fell apart. Jessica began taking more business trips than usual. Initially, once every few months, suddenly she was flying out twice a month for conferences, client meetings, and team-building retreats. When I asked about joining her on one trip to turn it into a mini vacation afterward, she quickly explained. Company policy prohibited it. Then came the password changes. We had always known each other's phone codes. Not because we snooped, but because of practical reasons, like answering calls while the other was driving or ordering food delivery. One day, I picked up her phone to look up a restaurant we had visited, only to find a new password had been set. When I asked about it, Jessica casually mentioned increasing work security requirements without meeting my eyes. Her phone also developed a new habit. It always landed screen down whenever she set it on a surface. Notifications would buzz, and she would quickly check them, sometimes stepping into another room to respond. The late nights at work increased too often, with periods where my texts went unanswered for hours, only to receive a response claiming poor reception in the conference room. Our physical relationship changed too. Kisses became pecks. Intimate moments became rare and felt mechanical when they happened. Any attempt to discuss it was deflected with explanations about work stress, deadlines, and exhaustion. I began to feel like a roommate rather than a partner. One evening, while doing laundry, I found receipts from a downtown hotel in her jacket pocket. When I casually mentioned them, Jessica quickly explained that the company had put employees up during a late-night project launch when working past midnight. It seemed reasonable enough, but something about her overly detailed explanation felt rehearsed. Even our friends noticed changes. At a barbecue hosted by mutual friends, Jessica spent most of the time on her phone rather than engaging with the group. My buddy Taylor pulled me aside and asked if everything was okay between us. I defended her, citing work pressure, but his concern planted another seed of doubt. Jessica had been away at what she described as an important industry conference for 3 days. When she returned home, I noticed unusual tan lines on her shoulders, strange for a conference supposedly held in Seattle during rainy season. That evening, she asked to talk, her expression serious, as she sat across from me at our dining table. I will never forget her words. "Steve, I need to tell you something important." Her hands folded neatly on the table, wedding ring absent. "I have been doing a lot of thinking about us, about me, about where I am in life." The practiced nature of her speech was obvious, likely rehearsed during her flight home. "I need some space to find myself again," she continued, eyes darting between my face and the table. "I feel like I have lost my identity in this relationship, and I need time alone to figure things out." Each word felt like a calculated step away from 3 years together. Then came the specific request that would change everything. "I need space, Steve. Please do not contact me for a while. I need to be completely alone to sort through my feelings." She emphasized the point: no calls, no texts, just give me time. Despite the storm of suspicion brewing inside me, I maintained a calm exterior. Part of me already knew this was not about finding herself. 3 years of intimacy creates intuition about someone. So I simply nodded and said, "All right." My simple response seemed to catch her off guard. Perhaps she expected pleading questions or resistance. Instead, my acceptance appeared to unsettle her more than anything else. She blinked rapidly, then nodded as if confirming something to herself. Within an hour, Jessica had packed a suitcase and some personal items. She mentioned staying with her friend Amanda, but avoided details about how long she would be gone. With a quick, awkward hug that felt more like a formality than affection, she left our apartment. That night I lay awake, staring at the ceiling. The space beside me in our bed felt enormous. My gut twisted with the certainty that there was far more to her sudden need for space than personal growth. Something was very wrong, but I had no concrete evidence beyond my instincts and scattered suspicious behaviors. That would change dramatically by morning. The vibration of my phone woke me after a night of restless sleep. Multiple notifications lit up my screen. 3 missed calls from Mark, my closest friend since high school, along with messages from several other friends. I opened Mark's text first. "Dude, you need to see this. Call me as soon as possible." Attached was a screenshot from Instagram showing Jessica at a beachfront resort. Her unmistakable smile beamed at the camera as she held a tropical drink. The location tag showed Cancun, Mexico, not Seattle, Washington. The timestamp revealed it was posted during her supposed conference. Most tellingly, a man's arm was draped comfortably around her waist. My hands trembled as I swiped through additional photos Mark had sent. Jessica and a tall, well-dressed man, approximately 10 years older than me, dining at a candlelit restaurant. Another showed them walking hand in hand along the beach at sunset. The most painful image captured them kissing beside an infinity pool overlooking the ocean. The physical reaction was immediate. My stomach lurched and I barely made it to the bathroom. After splashing cold water on my face, I stared at my reflection, not recognizing the betrayal in my own eyes. Thoughts raced so quickly I could barely focus on any single one. How long had this been happening? Who was this man? Did everyone know except me? I called Mark, who answered immediately. "I am so sorry, man," he said. Amanda shared these on her private story, not realizing I would see them. Jessica swore her to secrecy about the trip, but Amanda has been posting updates all weekend, thinking her audience was safe. With shaking hands, I opened Instagram and began investigating. The mystery man appeared in several more photos on Amanda's profile. Through mutual connections and tagged locations, I soon identified him as Andrew Thompson, Senior Vice President at Jessica's company. 15 years older than Jessica, distinguished looking with the confident posture of someone accustomed to authority, further digging revealed evidence of their relationship stretching back at least 6 months. Small appearances together at company events, standing suspiciously close in group photos, occasional comments on professional posts that carried subtle personal undertones. The timeline matched perfectly with the beginning of Jessica's changed behavior. The most sickening discovery came when I found Andrew's personal profile. His bio clearly stated proud husband to Sarah, father to Emma and Jack. His profile picture showed a handsome family unit. 2 young children, perhaps 6 and 8, smiled beside an elegant blonde woman who had no idea her husband was romancing my girlfriend in Mexico. I discovered Sarah Thompson worked as a pediatric nurse at the county hospital. Her own social media showed a woman devoted to her family sharing pictures of homemade dinners waiting for Andrew's return from business trips that now took on a very different meaning. My research also uncovered the company ethics policy, prominently featuring a strict prohibition against romantic relationships between managers and subordinates. Jessica's recent promotion suddenly made sense in a nauseating new light. Her salary increase and new office had nothing to do with her marketing skills. Methodically, I began saving everything: screenshots, profile links, timestamps, and location data. Not yet certain what I would do with it all, but knowing documentation mattered. 3 years of my life had been at least partially a lie, and the evidence was mounting by the minute. The emotional tornado that followed is difficult to describe. One moment I felt numb, staring blankly at the wall. The next rage would surge through me so intensely, my vision blurred. Then crushing sadness would fold me in half on the couch. The cycle repeated for hours as messages continued to pour in from friends who had seen the photos. I called in sick to work, unable to focus on anything except the collapse of my relationship. My sister came over with grocery basics when I told her what happened, sitting with me as I cycled through emotions. "Whatever you decide to do, do not do it today," she advised. "Sleep on any decision when you are this hurt." That night, I reached out to my closest friends for counsel. The responses varied wildly. Taylor suggested confronting Jessica immediately. Mark recommended silence, letting her wonder what I knew. My college roommate argued for exposure, believing Andrew's wife deserved to know the truth. The ethical question of informing Sarah Thompson weighed heavily. Did she have the right to know about her husband's infidelity? Was it my place to shatter her family? Would I want someone to tell me? These questions circled my mind as I tried to determine the right course of action. The decision point came unexpectedly. While scrolling through messages, I found screenshots from a mutual friend showing a text conversation where Jessica bragged to her coworker, "Andrew takes me to five-star resorts, while Steve thinks I am at conferences. I am literally having the best of both worlds right now." Something snapped inside me. Not toward violence or verbal abuse, but toward clarity. The calculated deception and the casual cruelty of her boasting crystallized my decision. With steady hands, I opened my social media account and created a new post. I selected 3 of the clearest vacation photos showing Jessica and Andrew together. I wrote a simple factual caption: "My girlfriend of 3 years, Jessica Wilson, asked for space last night, requesting no contact while she finds herself." Today I discovered these photos of her actual activities with Andrew Thompson, VP at Tech Future Industries, and her married boss, during what she claimed was a Seattle conference. I believe in transparency, and think everyone involved deserves to know the truth. I tagged Sarah Thompson, Tech Future Industries, and our circle of mutual friends. I took a deep breath, pressed post, then silenced my phone, and went for a long walk in the park. By the time I returned, an hour later, digital chaos had erupted. My phone had received so many notifications that the battery had drained completely. After plugging it in and powering it back on, the device began vibrating continuously with incoming calls, texts, and social media alerts. Jessica had called 27 times and left 14 voicemails. The first few were confused. "Steve, what are you doing? Call me immediately." They quickly escalated to panic. "Please take that post down right now. You do not understand what you have done." The final messages deteriorated into tearful begging. "Steve, please, you are destroying multiple lives right now. We need to talk about this." Andrew's messages were initially threatening. "You better remove that post immediately or I will sue you for defamation." His tone shifted dramatically in later messages. "Look, this is all a misunderstanding. Let's talk man to man and resolve this privately." The final voicemail was barely audible, his voice shaking. "Please call me. My wife has taken the kids to her parents. My life is falling apart." The most surprising call came from Sarah Thompson herself. "Unlike the others," I answered. "Thank you," were her first words, spoken through evident tears. "I have suspected something for months, but Andrew gaslit me into believing I was paranoid and insecure. These photos are painful, but they are the confirmation I needed." We spoke for nearly an hour. She shared her own observations of Andrew's changed behavior: the late nights, the sudden business trips, the emotional distance. We connected through our parallel experiences of betrayal, forming an unexpected bond in our shared pain. My social media notifications exceeded anything I had ever experienced. Friends expressing shock and support. Jessica's friends alternating between defending her and expressing disappointment. Distant acquaintances rubbernecking at the relationship wreckage. The post had spread far beyond my network, shared and commented on by people I had never met. Around dinner time, loud knocking startled me. Jessica stood at my door, makeup streaked down, her face closed, disheveled. Through the door I heard her pleading, "Steve, please let me explain. It is not what it looks like. Andrew means nothing to me." I remained silent, watching her through the peephole. After 15 minutes of unanswered pleas, she slid down against the door, sobbing on the hallway floor. My neighbor emerged from his apartment and asked if everything was okay. Only then did Jessica compose herself enough to leave. Meanwhile, the professional consequences were swift. Jessica texted that her director had called her into a virtual meeting where she was informed her recent promotion was rescinded, pending an ethics investigation. Human Resources had temporarily suspended both her and Andrew while they investigated the apparent violation of company relationship policies. The following morning, I agreed to meet Sarah at a coffee shop halfway between our homes. In person, her resemblance to her social media photos was striking, though stress had clearly taken its toll. Dark circles ringed her eyes and her hands trembled slightly as she clutched her cup. "I filed for divorce this morning," she stated matter-of-factly. "After you and I spoke, Andrew came home and confessed everything. Apparently, they have been seeing each other for over 8 months. He claims it started as mentorship and evolved into an affair during a business trip to Chicago." I shared the timeline of Jessica's changed behavior, and we filled in gaps in each other's understanding. Sarah revealed Andrew had been taking money from their children's college funds to finance expensive gifts for Jessica. I told her about finding hotel receipts from locations across the city. While we talked, Jessica made multiple attempts to contact me. Text messages cycled through anger, bargaining, and self-pity. "I cannot believe you would humiliate me publicly like this. Can we please talk about this? I made a mistake, but I still love you. My reputation is destroyed. Are you happy now? I might lose my job because of what you did." I responded to none of them. Later that day, Andrew's tactics shifted from threats to desperate bargaining. He offered financial compensation for removing the post, promised to end things with Jessica, even suggested writing me a recommendation for a prestigious architectural fellowship I had mentioned once in Jessica's presence. The investigation at their workplace moved quickly. By the end of the week, Jessica had been demoted and transferred to a different department with a substantial pay decrease. Andrew had been placed on administrative leave pending board review, his executive position in serious jeopardy. The confrontation I had been avoiding finally happened 10 days after my post. Jessica ambushed me outside my office building. "We need to talk," she insisted, blocking my path to my car. "There is nothing to discuss," I replied, maintaining distance between us. "I made a terrible mistake," she said, tears forming. "Andrew meant nothing to me. It was just excitement, the thrill of someone powerful being interested in me. I never stopped loving you." Looking at her, I felt strangely empty. The woman I had planned to propose to now seemed like a stranger. "The issue is not that you were attracted to someone else," I explained calmly. "The issue is that you systematically lied to me for months. You constructed elaborate deceptions. You mocked me to others while planning our future together. That level of betrayal does not get fixed with an apology." Her expression shifted from contrition to anger. "So you decided to ruin multiple lives. Do you feel powerful now? His children are involved, Steve. Did you think about them? I did not create this situation, Jessica. You and Andrew did. I simply declined to participate in the lies. If exposure of the truth ruins your life, perhaps the problem lies in your actions, not my response to them." I walked past her to my car, her shouts fading as I drove away. That evening, I arranged for Taylor to collect Jessica's remaining belongings from the apartment. Our direct contact ended that day. The first few weeks after everything exploded were physically painful. I suffered insomnia, had no appetite, and experienced anxiety attacks that left me gasping for air in the middle of meetings. The betrayal felt physical, like an actual wound I was carrying. A friend recommended a therapist specializing in relationship trauma. Initially reluctant, I finally made an appointment after a particularly bad night. Dr. Kellerman helped me understand that my reactions were normal responses to significant betrayal. "Your brain is processing this like a physical threat," she explained. "Your body is in fight or flight mode constantly." Through weekly sessions, I began developing tools to process what had happened. Journaling became particularly important, allowing me to track emotional progress, and recognized patterns in my recovery. Some days showed improvement, others felt like starting over, but the overall trajectory moved toward healing. I reclaimed our shared apartment by rearranging furniture, painting walls, and replacing bedding. Simple changes transformed the space from ours to mine. The joint savings account required more complex resolution. After documenting my contributions with bank statements, I withdrew my portion before Jessica could empty it. She contested this action, but backed down when I mentioned potential legal action regarding her financial deception. My support system proved invaluable during this period. Friends took shifts staying over during the first week, ensuring I ate and functioned. My parents called daily, offering both emotional support and practical advice about separating finances and legal protections. Colleagues covered projects when focus became impossible. Physical activity became my emotional outlet. I joined a boxing gym, finding that punching bags offered relief no conversation could provide. The combination of exhaustion, endorphins, and measurable progress helped restore my sense of control. My trainer, a former military psychologist, recognized my situation immediately. "Hit the bag, not the bottle, and you will come through this." The first social gathering after the breakup terrified me. A birthday celebration for Mark had been planned months in advance, and backing out felt cowardly. Walking into the restaurant, I felt everyone watching, judging, pitying. 2 hours later, I realized most people were simply happy to see me emerging from isolation. By the end of the night, I had laughed genuinely for the first time in weeks. Professionally, my handling of the situation had unexpected benefits. My direct, non-emotional approach to the crisis impressed senior partners at my firm. When a major client requested an architect for a high-profile downtown development, my name was suggested. "They want someone who demonstrates integrity under pressure," my manager explained. "Your recent situation, while unfortunate, showcased those qualities." Sarah Thompson and I continued meeting occasionally. Our connection formed in mutual crisis, evolved into genuine friendship based on shared experience and recovery. Her divorce proceedings moved quickly given the evidence, and she found herself rebuilding just as I was. We carefully maintained appropriate boundaries, understanding that romantic involvement would be unhealthy for both of us. Jessica made increasingly desperate attempts to reconnect. Flowers delivered to my office were returned. Letters mailed to my apartment went unread. When she created new email accounts to bypass my blocks, I simply created filters to automatically delete anything from unknown senders. The message became clear: that chapter had ended. 6 months after discovering the affair, I barely recognized the broken man I had been. Therapy had helped me process the betrayal without letting it define my future. New routines had replaced couple habits with healthier solo activities. Friendships had deepened as I learned to be vulnerable without fear. The trip to Hawaii happened after all, though not as originally planned. Instead of a couple's vacation ending in proposal, I traveled alone to the same resort. Sitting on the beach where I had imagined asking Jessica to marry me, I wrote a letter to myself acknowledging both the pain and growth of the past half-year. I burned the letter at sunset, watching the ashes drift out to sea, along with the last of my anger. Professionally, I thrived. The high-profile project led to others, and within 8 months of the breakup, I received a substantial promotion. The increased income allowed me to purchase a condo in a neighborhood I had always admired, but considered unattainable. Moving day carrying boxes into my own property marked a tangible new beginning. My approach to relationships transformed completely. I developed clear standards and boundaries that I communicated openly. I learned to recognize warning signs I had previously ignored or rationalized. Most importantly, I discovered that being alone was vastly preferable to being with someone who required sacrificing self-respect. The friendships that endured through the crisis proved invaluable. Those who had stood by me during the darkest days became family by choice. Interestingly, some of Jessica's friends eventually reached out, having distanced themselves from her after witnessing her behavior following our breakup. Their stories confirmed that her deception had extended beyond our relationship, a pattern rather than an exception. News about Jessica and Andrew trickled in occasionally, though I sought none of it. Through mutual connections, I learned Jessica had eventually been let go from the company when further ethics violations were discovered. Andrew's divorce had cost him considerably, both financially and in reputation. The last I heard, they had attempted dating openly after both losing their jobs, but the relationship collapsed within months, without the excitement of secrecy. Sarah completed her divorce and focused on rebuilding stability for her children. Our friendship continued to be a source of strength for both of us. She eventually returned to school to complete her nurse practitioner license, turning adversity into opportunity for growth. Looking back at 3 years with Jessica, I recognized how often I had dismissed my intuition in favor of accepting explanations that maintained comfort. I learned that real love does not require constant suspicion, but neither does it require blind trust against evidence. Balance and honesty form the foundation of genuine connection. The experience taught me that forgiveness does not mean reconciliation. I forgave Jessica not to free her from consequences, but to free myself from carrying bitterness. Her actions revealed her character, and my response revealed mine. In the end, I was proud of maintaining dignity throughout the process. Life continues to unfold with possibilities I could not have imagined during those dark days immediately after discovery. I approach each day with gratitude for lessons painfully learned and wisdom hard-earned. The glass that shattered revealed not just cracks, but an opening to a more authentic life. Have you ever had to make a difficult choice between keeping quiet or exposing a painful truth? What did you choose, and how did it change your life? Let me know in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to hear more stories about finding strength through life's challenges. Remember, sometimes the most painful endings make way for the most beautiful beginnings. Thank you for listening, and until next time, trust your instincts. They are usually right.